Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a Books Beside My Bed video. This is the week beginning the 25th of November all the way up to the 1st of December. I read 7.5 books this week, 2,843 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 247 books. Since I'm going to be talking about over 7 books, let's get straight into it. The first book that I read this week was the book that I was finishing off from the last Books Beside My Bed video, which was The Whispered Word by Ellery Adams, which was a cozy mystery arc that I received from NetGalley. It is a 2018 release from Kensington Books and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, I think. It is the story of a middle-aged woman named Nora who owns a bookshop called Miracle Books in a small town that is under some financial difficulty after the bank has fallen through due to some mishandling of money by the person the person in charge of the bank in a previous book. So everyone is really on hard times. And at the start of this book, Nora is meeting with her good friends and book club, and they've discovered that there is a young girl wearing a hospital wristband sleeping in the storage closet, and it's a bit of a mystery about who she is and where she's come from and what she's running from. There is the murder of a local woman, and Nora and her friends are the ones to discover the body, and then they sort of become caught up in this mystery as they try and solve the whodunit. This was an okay book. It wasn't as fun as some of the other cozy mysteries that I've read, which is probably why I only gave it 3 stars, because I just read it. I wasn't really connecting with the characters and I wasn't immersed in the world. There's a lot of really great things about the book. I love the bookshop and there's lots of food references, but there's also a lot of book references, and Nora uses her bookshop to help people deal with things that they're going through by recommending books that will help them. So there's a lot of book recommendations in it, which I really loved. It was just everything else that fell a little bit flat for me. And then I read Guards by Terry Pratchett, which was originally published in 1989, I believe. And I read it as an ebook from Transworld Digital and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And this was upon recommendation from Kirsty and Leanne from their Terry Pratchett podcast on Death by the Books, and I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit difficult to get into it at first because it doesn't have chapters, so it took me a while to manage switching between the characters and sort of anchoring myself in the world. But once I did, it was really great. It is the first book in the City Watch series of books, because as I understand it, there's a whole lot of series that sort of take place in the Discworld, and this is one of the starting points for the City Watch books. And we are sort of shown the City Watch through the perspective of Carrot, who is a new recruit. He's been sent there by his dwarf family, even though he's not a dwarf, he's a human. He's like over 6 feet or something like that. But he's been raised believing that he's a dwarf. And he is a very by the book sort of character, and he's memorized all the laws only to find that when he comes to the City Watch, yeah, they're not so much the law as they are just a presence. They're a symbol of the former City Watch. And alongside this, you've also got a group of amateur wizards trying to raise a dragon, and all chaos breaks loose. It was really fun. It was super funny, and I am looking forward to picking up more books in the Discworld. I have been recommended The We Free Men. That will probably be my next foray into the Discworld at some point. Then I read Oh Naughty Night by Leslie Kelly, which is an adult romance book. In fact, I think it was probably a novella. It was published in 2014 by Mills and Boon Blaze, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I wanted something quick, easy to read, something that was sexy and holiday themed. This one was sort of Halloween themed, which I know is pretty late in the season to do it, but I don't know whether it was free on Kindle or it was really cheap or something like that, but I just wanted something quick and easy to read. It was fine. I didn't have a problem with the sex scenes. I didn't have a problem with the setting or the place, but I really had a problem with some of the language used in it, just because to me it felt a little bit juvenile. In that way, it came across as quite offensive at times. It is the story of Lulu Vandenberg and Chaz Browning. Chaz Browning is a journalist. He's been away for a very long time, but these 2 characters grew up together and they sort of had a friendship, but it was a love-hate friendship growing up, and they caused a lot of problems for one another. And then they cross paths at a Halloween party, and Lulu is masked, and she was basically the perpetrator of all of their incidents as children. And there's an instant attraction between the 2 of them, but Chaz doesn't realise that he's talking to Lulu, and she knows that if he realises who she is, then it's going to cause problems. And it does. So it sort of goes on from there. It's very short, very easy to read. I really just didn't... I thought it was very problematic the way that Lulu talks about other women and puts them down, because it's just... that's not okay. It's really not. Then I read Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. This was a 2018 release from Pan Macmillan and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This was also fine, and this will probably be an unpopular opinion, although I have heard other people say similar things to me. I found this incredibly slow. The main character Zelie lives in a world where magic used to exist, and she belongs to a group of people who used to be able to harness that magic in connection to gods or magical beings who gave them these abilities, and it was sort of passed down through families. But at the time of this book, magic has basically been destroyed by the current ruler. Anyone who is a descendant from those people who could work magic or who themselves worked magic is basically treated as an outcast and looked down upon. People with magic are symbolized by bright white hair, usually quite curly, and at the start of this, Zelie crosses paths with the princess of the ruler who stamped out magic, and they embark on a quest to sort of restore magic to the world, and then they're hunted down by the prince, who is very much taken in by his father's stance that to give anyone magic back would cause a lot of problems. The pacing in this is incredibly off. There are huge chunks of it where I'm like, come on, something's got to happen. The characters are fine. The world is a really interesting world, but I kept wanting to put it down because nothing was happening. The other thing that really bothered me in this is that there is a romance aspect which starts off entirely antagonistic because the two characters hate each other, and then all of a sudden, I think I turned a page and suddenly they were starting to fall in love with one another, and I was very much like, when did that actually happen? I couldn't find the part where it just jumped from one to the other, which was a really interesting choice, I think. So it's not bad, and I think perhaps as Tommy Adeyemi writes further books that perhaps some of these issues will be resolved. But for the moment, it's just okay. I'm glad that I read it because it is a known voices book and it is a very intriguing concept. I perhaps would have just liked it a little bit more. Then I read Blaze of Memory by Nalini Singh. This is the 7th book in the Psy-Changeling series. It was published in 2011 by Gallant and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It follows Dev Santos, who runs the Shine Institute, which is basically a group of Psys who broke away from the Psy-Net very, very early on before they embraced silence, and they look for potential descendants of these people who broke away from the Psy-Net, because they often are either very gifted in the arts or music, and they also have a tendency to have a lot of mental problems because of their psychic abilities. Katya Haas is also a member of the Psy, but she is from the Psy-Net. She has been tortured and is quite badly injured, and she is dumped on the doorstep of the Shine Institute, and so Dev basically takes her in, but he doesn't trust her because she believes that she is a spy, and there's a whole lot of double crossing and bits and pieces going on. This is an urban fantasy / paranormal romance sort of world, which I'm really enjoying. This one wasn't my favorite in the series, and the characters were not characters that I was particularly invested in, but it was an easy read and it was nice to continue to expand that universe. Then I read Embrace and Enticed by Jessica Shervington. These are the first 2 books in the Violet Eden series. This is a paranormal romance young adult series that is Lovers YA because Jessica Shervington is an Aussie author. It follows the story of Violet Eden, who has just discovered that she is a member of the Grigori, and that makes her a human who has some of the abilities and some of the essence of angels. There are light angels and dark angels, and they exist both in sort of this heavenly plane but also on earth as sort of like your fallen type characters, except the fallen are not all dark and not all light. And generally the Grigori and the light and the dark angels really have an antagonistic relationship, but there are aspects where the light and the dark angels are now working against the Grigori, who are charged with sort of keeping the peace and keeping these angels in line. This series has an ongoing love triangle basically from the get-go, and I didn't mind it as much as I thought I would, and I'm quite enjoying the series. I think I gave both of them 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I forgot to mention they were published in 2010 and 2011 respectively by Hachette. They're fun, they're easy to read, I like the characters, the world keeps expanding as we get new characters and new information about the angels and how all that hierarchy works, which is really interesting for me because I do like my angel books. I do apologise for the changing in light because while I've got my lights on, I am trying to keep out as much light from outside, but as you can tell, the sun keeps coming and going behind clouds and I can't do anything about Mother Nature, unfortunately. So just bear with me. The last book that I read this week was The Wrong Callahan by Carly Lane, and I'm so glad that I ended my week with this book because it was just fun. I have loved Carly Lane's books since I started reviewing these books from for Alan Unwin, and I think this is like the 4th or the 5th book that I reviewed of hers. So this is a review copy, obviously. It is a 2018 release from Alan and Unwin. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is sort of a country romance book. It is the first book in the Callahans of Stringy Bark Creek, and I think the next book's coming out mid next year, which is really exciting. It follows the story of Lincoln Callahan, who left his hometown and the family farm of Stringy Bark Creek to pursue a career in the military. He's come home for Christmas and also the wedding of his younger sister. He has a younger brother and sister as well as an older sister. The 4 siblings sort of have a really strained relationship in this book, and we don't quite know all the reasons why. We sort of get hints at them. Lincoln's best relationship is with his younger sister, the one who is getting married. Things become even more tense with his younger brother Griff when Lincoln basically falls for the girl that his brother has fallen for. Cash has taken over the day spa for a friend of hers who owns and runs it but is overseas, and so she's only been there for a few weeks and is only planning on staying for maybe 6 weeks after that. She's not looking to settle down. She's had a string of bad relationships in the past, and when Griff, Lincoln's younger brother, tries to pursue her, she knows that it's not going to work and she tries to let him down gently. And then she meets Lincoln and they start this rather steamy romance, and all the while trying to work out the best way to either break it to Griff or not. And all the while you've got the preparations for Christmas and the preparations for the wedding going on. All of the characters have secrets and all of those secrets impact on everyone. This book deals with broken families. It deals with really healthy families. The Callahans are, for the most part, a very close-knit group of people. Link's parents are amazing. It also deals with post-traumatic stress, and Lincoln saw a whole lot of things while he was a soldier and he's still dealing with that, and that has massive ramifications for his family in the later part of the book. So I really love this. I'm looking forward to the second book. If you're looking for an easy summer read over the Christmas holidays, I would highly recommend this one. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you are planning to. And what was the best thing that you were reading last week? I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.